Tom, I'm really looking forward to this one because there's a lot going on at Brentford. And I don't think it's had the media coverage it deserves. The amount of change that you've endured over the summer with the head coach, your captain, your attackers all leaving the club at the same time. And I think had it happened at one of the Sky Sports 6, it would have been non-stop media coverage, etc. So I think you've gone under the radar a little bit, which may have helped, may not have helped. But I'm looking forward to discussing it and getting your thoughts on everything Brentford at the minute. But I want to start by going back to the start because context is important. So Thomas Frank left, which I know you will have been disappointed in, but expected. But Keith Andrews was appointed. What was your reaction to the news that he was the replacement for Thomas Frank?
I think initially it's got to be underwhelming, hasn't it? Because you get to a point where you're a relatively established Premier League side, and you think, well, okay, what bigger name can we go for? I know there wasn't a huge amount of names sort of out and about at the time, and so it's obviously difficult. But I think initially you look at it and go, well, it's a bit underwhelming, really, because you sort of, well, who have we appointed? There was links to sort of other people internally as well. And then you go, all of a sudden it was out of nowhere. And I guess the media looks at it and goes, well, we've basically signed the set piece coach to be your next manager, which, as someone looking from the outside in goes, what on earth's going on? And then looking from, being a fan and being inside of it, you go, well, this just seems a bit strange. I think that was the initial reaction. But then I think sorry.
No, go on, please.
I think then you look at it and you go, well, we're also a club that have done that numerous times. Thomas Frank was internal. I mean, he was assistant manager, Dean Smith. Mark Warburton was sporting director before he became manager. And so it's not the first time we've done it. I think it was an underwhelming more because of the start. But then actually when you look at it and look what we do as a club, it was one of those where we've hired people previously with always a contingency plan in place. And I think that we do that really well. So I wasn't worried.
Did you believe this was a contingency plan, though? Because from one of the outsiders looking in, there was a bit of a delay between Frank and Andrews. And I think that makes me question if it was the contingency plan. Because if it was, then it would have been done quicker, surely. But also, I did wonder, I'll put this to you, if maybe the contingency plan left with Thomas Frank because he took some of the coaching team with him, didn't he, to Spurs?
Yeah. So basically, from what I know and what I've sort of read, so basically they interviewed Justin Cochrane, who went with Thomas Frank to Spurs, and he was the favourite originally. What's become more apparent since then, basically, is they interviewed Justin Cochrane and obviously Keith Andrews, and basically they made the decision that Keith Andrews was the preferred option out of the two. And so therefore, Justin Cochrane would pretty much basically go back in as being assistant manager to Keith Andrews, should Keith Andrews get the job at this point. To which then he decided, obviously, it made more sense for him to go and be assistant manager to Thomas Frank at Spurs. And so that's why he left. They interviewed Keith Andrews and said, right, you are our favoured choice in the club, but it wouldn't be fair for us not to do our due diligence and go out and speak to other managers. So apparently they spoke to several managers externally to the club as well, and then decided after the long process that, everyone saw it as Thomas Frank left and it was sort of a few weeks until we appointed anyone, that basically that was then the decision made that, he is the right man for the job. I think they said that they really like how he spoke, obviously. He's been on Sky Sports for numerous years previously, so you'd like to think he can handle himself in front of the media and all of that. And he does speak really well when I've listened to his press conferences and talking to the media. He does come across really well as a person. So, apparently that was the case.
See, this is why I like doing this series on YouTube. You learn about the club you're going to face. In 20 minutes, you get everything that you need to know that you previously didn't know. So I've learned something already. Thank you, Tom. But in terms of the transfer window then, it was a busy one. And Bomo going, Cunha, not Cunha, that's Wolves. Wissa going, Norgard going. Utara went in, Henderson went in, signed Coyote on a permanent deal. Were you happy with the business Brentford done?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, it it was expected. I mean, a bit like with Frank leaving, I think he's always been sniffed around for a long time, and so it was likely that he would move at some point. A bit surprised he went to Spurs, but it makes sense, I think, from a expectation point of view, I guess. If he went somewhere like Man United, then the pressure and the expectation is so much higher. Yeah. And then with Brian, it was, he had done his time. He's been an absolute fantastic servant. And if Man United come sniffing around with that much money, then I'm not going to lie, then absolutely take it all day, every day and go and spend it on somebody else. So super happy that for him and that he got moved to where he wants to be. Johan Visser can, he can absolutely do one. But
I was going to say he must have.
Sadly, I've heard he's got maybe potentially an ACL injury. So that was a real sad moment for me when I heard about that. So no, I'm not that bitter. But no, absolutely no. He left in a poor way, and he would have had the same reception that Mbeumo would have got when he left, and he could have done it, and it was clearly going to happen. It was going to get there. It's just, a bit like Brian Mbeumo carried on doing what he did. Everybody knew he was going to end up at Man United. It was no secret. We were just waiting for Man United to pay the right amount of money. Everybody knew this was more than likely going to end up at Newcastle. We were just waiting for them to pay the right amount of money. They were going to pay it, especially after everything that happened with targets they missed out on. And so all he had to do was bide his time and, went on Instagram, deleted all the pictures from when he was at Brentford. And it was like he was some prisoner of war or something. It was crazy. He's an incredibly well-paid footballer, and really he should. The fact that, we picked him up from a Ligue 2 side in France, without that, then potentially could have been somebody else through the door, knowing Brentford. So yeah, the lack of support that he gave to the club, and it just ruined his legacy completely, really. And then with Norgard, it's a miss from a captaincy point of view, and from a leadership point of view, I think that was a big miss. That will be a big miss. Hopefully, we've replaced it well with someone like Jordan Henderson, who's been and to be honest. I'm more shocked about how well he's been playing.
Yeah. When I first seen he became on a free, I thought he's got to go to Sunderland, right? It's the story. He's got to go to Sunderland. And when I seen news picked him up, I thought
weird.
Yeah. So this the problem is it's because it was you. Because when Brentford sign a player, I automatically feel positive about it because it's Brentford. I've been really looking forward to seeing Thiago play. Because I thought, well, you signed him to replace Ivan Toney, right? So that's quite a big transfer. He's just been injured. So I thought he's got to be a good striker because Brentford signed him. And when you got Henderson in, I thought, well, it's Brentford, so it should be all right. But it's also Jordan Henderson. But actually, I've been very surprised how good he's been. And arguably one of your more creative players with that long ball of the top that he's got.
I think he's had a couple of assists already this season. He's been excellent. Yeah. And I think, and the nice thing I think for him is whether there's some sort of method in the madness of his age. I mean, he's 36, I think, and he's on a 2-year contract. So my guess and assumption is going to be some sort of first year playing, second year sort of more towards the coaching side of things as he towards the end of his career. So that'd be great. I mean, but the fact that he's still included in the England setup and everything, it sort of shows his leadership credentials and all of that side of things, and that's clearly what will be missed with Norgard going to Newcastle. And again, you can't deny Christian Norgard moved to Arsenal, and he, again, did it in completely the right way, moved exactly how he should do, and so, all the power to him too.
Before the season, how worried were you about relegation?
I wasn't, to be honest. We've always been the small underdogs, and it was just I think it was maybe a combination of the both of you lost Visser and Mbeumo and Frank all at the same time. That was sort of the biggest worry of them all. But also, I know how well the club is run, and so therefore, I think it'd be. So when I say wasn't worried, I wasn't worried with how the club was going to continue to be ran. Whether we got into a sticky situation or whether we will be in a sticky situation in 3 to 4 months' time again. All it takes is a few injuries and things like that, and anything can happen, obviously, in football. But from a expectation of the club to continue to be run and the money to be invested, I wasn't worried.
It's a complete contrast to how a West Ham fan feels. We do anything, we're like, no, please don't. This is not going to work out. You've promoted a set piece coach and you just feel fine about it because you trust the club that much, they could go hire Pep Guardiola and we'd still be like, I'm not sure it's going to work out. Like, it's still going to go wrong at West Ham. The owner's going to piss him off. He's going to leave after a week and stuff like that. So the complete contrast in mentality in regards to just trust in what your club's doing couldn't be further apart, to be honest. I remember speaking to you about this in a previous video that we'd done about trusting the club's process when it came to the transfer window. And you're being tested here with giving Keith Andrews' first ever manager job, head coach job, and you're fine with it. You know, you've lost Wissa and Bowman, your captain, and you're sat there like, yeah, but it's Brentford will be all right. I trust the club. It just blows my mind. I'm jealous. I am jealous of it, but it's a really nice thing to hear a football fan trust their club that much. Let me show you how the club football app works. Let's get it loaded up. There's a few things we need to do. We need to collect our cash and we need to collect our coins. You need both things in order to upgrade the facilities in your football club. But here's the most exciting part. Every 4 hours, Agent Manny gives you a ring and offers you a player. This is how you acquire your players on this fancy football app. So let's have a look and see what we've got. It's a rare player. That's all right. A striker. He plays for Brighton. Danny Welbeck, maybe 81 rated. Minta. That's all right. That's a decent player. The problem is he's a forward. If he was a midfielder, I'd be all over it. But I've actually got some good forwards. So I'm going to reject him. Take the coins instead. Make sure every day you pop in, you grab your free gems. They're quite handy when it comes to upgrading your squad. And also the best part is we've got a Hammers Chat League. That's a very basic rundown on how to use the Club Football app, but it's different to normal Fantasy League. Every weekend you go head to head with another user of the app. You're in a mini league and there are promotions as well. The best thing is the app is completely free. It's free to download, it's free to join, and it's free to play. Use a link in the description below or the pinned comments. It's important you do that. And also do join the Hammers Chat League as well. The code to do so is in the description and the pinned comments too. So get downloaded, get playing, and best of luck. What do you make of your season so far, though?
I mean, it's been a tough start with fixture-wise, to be honest. So I think we've picked up pretty good results in some of the fixtures. I think the loss to Sunderland was a bit of a kick in the teeth, really. Obviously, losing so late on as well. But yeah, it's been an okay start. It's not been anything spectacular. I mean, and again, I wasn't expecting this season to be. I'm expecting this season to be very much stay in the Premier League, keep it steady. You know, I doubt we'll be doing what we did last season, but also I hope we're not too far towards the bottom. So it's been okay. It's been inauspicious, I guess the best way. It's just sort of generally so.
Do you fear relegation yet, Tom?
No. I mean, I'm doing all right. I think we're sort of. I'm trying. I looked at the table, and obviously during internationals, I think we're 13th or 14th at the moment. So
16th.
We've dropped down to there, have we? Okay.
Yeah.
Joy. Great.
Maybe lower by Monday night.
Yeah, true.
Teams play as well, but I think you're 16th.
Yeah.
And you've got 9 points from 7, and we've got 4 points from 7. So you're a little bit ahead of us. Still not worried. Still.
No, I mean we've had some pretty tough fixtures as well in there. So I mean we've already played City. I think I'm trying to remember who we've got coming up. We've got some pretty tough fixtures coming up as well. But we've played a few of the tough ones already.
I say, don't you dare say Man U in your tough fixture. I'm not letting you have that. I'll let you have Man City, but I'm not letting you have.
We won that one quite well, so that was fine. So absolutely.
I was torn watching that. I was enjoying watching Man U get beat, but was not enjoying watching Brentford win. It was very conflicting. Right, from your team to my team, what do you make of West Ham?
I mean, I think for us, it's probably the worst time to play you guys now. Obviously, I mean, as you guys know, it wasn't a great start, and it just seemed from the start, and maybe towards the end of last season, it just seemed to be the writing on the wall for Potter. And yeah, I think the fact that Nuno became available and, you know, all the stars aligned and, you know, the fact that Marinakis is a little bit nuts and decided to sack him, I think it worked out perfectly for you guys. And the fact you've now had 2 weeks of time off for him to be training, I think for us, it's probably the world's worst time to be playing you guys. Yeah, I mean, you've still got Jared Bowen doing everything he does up front and just leading the team and, yeah, being Jared Bowen, and yeah, it's I think it's going to be an interesting transition now with what Nuno does and changes in tactics.
I'm not going to stop mentioning the R word but it's now in relation to West Ham rather than Brentford. If we had retained Potter, would you have had West Ham as one of your favourites to go down?
I wouldn't say one of my favourites, but it would be a worry. I think definitely in the conversation. I think, and as you know, we more than likely will be in the conversation. But I think you had sort of, I think pre-season, I think everyone was saying, well, obviously the 3 promoted teams, West Ham, Wolves, and Brentford, just because of the changes and then what was happening at each respective club, and they were sort of the 6 that everyone was touting. But I think everyone was still expecting the 3 promoted clubs to be sort of the still favourites to go down. And I still think a lot of people do think that potentially will be the 3, although it started very differently to the last few seasons. Potentially those 3 are still obviously in trouble with clubs like, you know, ourselves and Wolves, and John is potentially now Nottingham Forest with.
Yeah, I was going to agree. I think the 6 you've mentioned plus Nottingham Forest, I think that's a fair group of teams to sort of suspect may be involved in a relegation battle come the end of the season. But now we've got Nuno. Do you think we'll be all right?
Yeah, no. I really like him as a manager. I mean, from a defensive point of view, I mean, you guys obviously haven't had the world's best defense, and you've gone really chalk and cheese, I guess, from Potter to Nuno. But I think the way he'll set you up, and it's one of those where you might play a bit more boring football for the next few months, but at the end of the day, if that settles you and gets you in a good position, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely not a bad position to be in. So yeah, I think he's a really good manager. And as I said, I think it's bad timing for Brentford fans because obviously I'd much rather have been playing a Graham Potter West Ham than a Nuno West Ham. So yeah.
Well, speaking of Monday night's game, then how do you see this going?
I think so. We've still been scoring goals, but it's going to. I just don't know how you guys are going to set up, to be honest, because obviously new manager, obviously not had a huge amount of time to implement tactics and things like that, but I think probably pretty low scoring. I don't think it's going to be too crazy like we've seen in previous years. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, and I think it's going to be maybe like a 1 or 2-1 either way, maybe at most. But yeah, maybe a couple goals in there.
Do you know when you were talking about like you're not feeling relegation in a lot of the part of that reason was because your fixtures have been difficult. Do you see this as a bit of a must-win game for yourselves? Because you referred to the Sunderland one as, being a disappointing result so far, which I agree with. That should be a disappointing result so far. Would you see this on par with that one?
Yeah, I think, again, if you told me like 3 or 4 weeks ago, should we be beating West Ham, although obviously at your place it's always more difficult, but playing against the West Ham manager under Graham Potter, I was be pretty confident, but again it's changed quite a lot over the last few weeks and makes it a much more difficult fixture, I think, already. And I would say we're so early in the season, it's definitely not must win. It would be nice to get a win or get a point, obviously, against you guys at your place. But no, I wouldn't say must win, but it's, I think it's too early in the season to say must win. I think that's.
Well, Tom, awesome. Thank you very much. A pleasure as always. I look forward to catching up with you later on in the season where you may not be saying it's too early for a must win. One of us will be sat here probably going, we need to win this game. We're in trouble. But I look forward to it. But thank you very much. You guys at home have enjoyed the video. Please do drop a like on it. I'll put the links to Tom's social media platform. A handy guy to follow if you like a bit of the Fantasy League. I'll put a link to his social media handles in the description below. So go down, chat myself and Tom. We'll catch up with you ahead of the fixture at the G-Tech Community Stadium later on in the season.